It's opposite day? Oh, so you want to be here today?
And I'm black.
Wait, what's the...
I'm just like in real time processing whether or not I'm going to keep Jason saying I'm black in the edit.
Well, if it's
Can I start
opposite
recording
day,
in Audacity?
I don't even care at this point.
I give
yes,
up. I'm
I
gonna
started recording. I just
I'm
said,
gonna start
fuck it.
just...
There's a part of me that's just like afraid to touch anything. Alright, so
Touch you.
hi,
Why you touch me?
well, I'm Jesus fucking Christ. It's been a long night already because our recording stuff wasn't working. But welcome to Culture Illiterate. It's a podcast we talk about fast cars and family and movies and those bringing us together. I'm Jake.
Again, I didn't record.
You didn't have. I'm recording the call, bitch.
Just start recording now. Just start recording now.
Anyway, I'm Jason's Discord kitten. On to the rest of you.
I'm Jason, and apparently Jake's my Discord kitten. Which I guess I did say, but I didn't realize the implications of him saying it on mic.
Who's Mike?
What's my fun fact?
That was your fun fact.
No, that's not my fun fact. My fun fact is, that... Fuck, I really don't know. I like Werther's Originals. I got one right here.
Those are sick.
I'll pop it in my mouth later.
Pause.
Alright, well,
No.
that, and, my fun fact is, I like Tamagotchi Life. Sequel is coming out for a Switch next year, baby. Let's go.
Is it coming out next year? I thought it was this year. I didn't check.
2026. It's 2026.
Ooh,
That's next year.
that's sad. My name is Sean, and my fun fact that I've probably mentioned in the past, but I'm thinking about it now, is that I sent Jason the word "come" every day for over an entire year.
We've definitely brought that up
I only
before
ended
because you read the
I feel like I
Comiversary.
did.
Because we read the Comiversary text.
Did we read the... Jesus, that's
Yeah.
how long we've been doing it?
Yeah,
That we were so
you read
close to-
you read the entire thing on Pod, and it's like the
I
number
did.
one reason why I hesitate to tell people about this podcast is like, God, they may find that episode.
It was a high time in my life when I was writing Jason Come every day, and now I
That
have
was
nothing
great.
to fill the void.
That was a good time.
I need to think of another thing, like asking you to come in my hand. It still has to do with come somehow.
It's always come.
Always
Everything
has
is
been.
come.
Everything goes back to come.
In the beginning,
That's the secret, Cap.
I'm always
Always
coming.
coming.
Does anyone have any recs or any funny stories, or should we just jump right into it?
I got some rest.
I have some recs.
I have.
Alright, who's going first?
What's on
You
second?
go first, since you brought up first.
Abbott and Costello.
I recently not read, I keep saying I read it, I listened to it because it was an audiobook. Derek Whibley from Sum 41's memoir, called Walking Disaster, My Life Through Heaven and Hell. And quite good. If you're a Sum 41 fan, I definitely recommend it, but even if you're not, I think you would probably still enjoy it, because it's just an interesting read. He's been through some interesting things. And I just finished it today, actually. Just finished listening to it today, so yeah, recommend that highly.
That's something I'm gonna have to listen to at some point. I know he's done. I've seen some of the weird shit that's happened to him.
Well, yeah, he almost died from alcohol. All kinds of things. I don't want to say too much because he goes in depth in the book. It's a good read. It's very interesting.
Alright, well then, my rec is Tamagotchi Life.
Oh my God.
And my funny story is that in my island, Mario is married to a hamster.
Okay, can you give me a quick synopsis of this game? Because when you tried to before, I was like in a fight with Discord and OBS, so I wasn't able to process what you told
Giving
me.
you a breakdown of what the game is. I was just talking about the memes that kind of came
Okay,
out
can you
of it.
explain what the
Jake
game is,
in a
though?
fight with his OBGYN.
Jake was in a fight with the OPG.
There's a place called the Cat Doctor. It's a pet hospital near where I live, and I always try to suggest it to Priya as their new gynecologist because it's called the Cat Doctor. Anyway, explain this game.
It is technically a life simulation game, but it's just kind of like a random lull game because it's just really weird and it's really good.
How does it have... You said Mario is married to a squirrel? Like, I don't understand.
Life simulation game. It's a life simulation game.
You make these, and they do random shit with each other.
Okay.
Jake,
Fall love, they
Mario.
be friends, they can marry.
Okay.
Mario's married to a
But
hamster, not a squirrel.
they can't gay marry. They can't gay marry each other, which is disappointing.
I think the less I know about this, the better.
Gay marriage.
Gay
That's a
marriage.
community reference. I wasn't just saying gay marriage.
You can name your island whatever you want. You can tell me that they're going to commit acts of atrocities if somebody didn't marry them.
This sounds like off-brand Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
Animal Crossing, but more memeable.
Yeah, honestly, it just sounds like...
I can name...
It honestly, and I feel like this is gonna piss Matt off, it feels like... Do you remember that fucking Pokemon knockoff that used AI art that was, like, really big for a minute?
I'm talking about, what was it called? It's the Pokemon
Power
World Guns, right?
Yeah, Power World.
Power-
This honestly sounds like the Power World equivalent to Animal Crossing.
No, it's not even close. Because
it's like
it is...
it's like if Animal Crossing became a shit post.
It's
I can
because
be done with that.
I'm sticking with my statement.
basically make any character you want, and if you give people, the power of creativity, they'll give you memes.
Maybe one day we should...
And then the magic of memes live in an apartment complex.
Maybe one day we should expand to gaming content. We could have Matt post Let's Plays of his island.
So I could name my island Gay Marriage Island, and then no one would be allowed to get gay married on Gay Marriage Island.
Gay marriage is only for Jason.
Exact.
Only me. I'm the only one that gets to do it.
only Jason. Gay marriage is legal, but only Fritz and Walter, and that is it.
Jason's gonna marry all the men.
Hell yeah.
Hey, if you're a man, watch out. I'm gonna marry you.
This is gonna go down as one of our
Illegal
best or
for
one of our
them.
worst episodes, isn't it?
This is definitely going to be bad. I have recommendations. One is Monster Hunter and the entirety of it. I have an obsession. And my second recommendation is any Xenoblade Chronicles game because they've just released Xenoblade Chronicles X recently, and Nintendo's having a great end of life for the Switch for it dying next week, essentially.
Well, luckily Switch 2 is backwards compatible, so then it's going to be an easy transition.
Wait, you said dying
yeah.
next week. Are they revealing more about the Switch 2, or did I totally miss the boat that it's like releasing?
Well, it's releasing this year.
Okay,
It's
okay.
releasing this year. They're probably revealing like the release. This is going to come out after.
Oh, there's a
They're
direct.
probably going to reveal like the release date, and like
Okay.
it's probably going to open pre-orders that day, and yada yada yada.
Okay, I was just
And
curious.
what games are coming to it? I guess.
Cool. We talked about Nintendo, so now we're gonna get copyright struck.
Hell yeah.
No, we can play like half a millisecond of one of their songs, and then we'll get copyright strike.
Oh, you're right. I should play the Mario theme song.
Will we get copyright struck if we say I support Luigi? Because I support
No.
the actions of all Luigis.
No, yes, because it's not his year. It's not his year, so...
It's not the year of Luigi anymore. We can't support him.
Speak for yourself.
So, is Mario a furry then if he's married to a hamster?
Yes.
I mean, he's dressed up
Not
in
a squirrel,
furry.
Jake?
He's up in furry costumes, similar furry costumes before, so I think it's fair. I think it's a fair assumption. Mario.
You
Well,
can't tell me
I'm
that
pretty
you
sure he
didn't
wore a
get
Tanuki
freaky with
costume.
Sonic during the Olympic Games.
One of
I
my
should put Sonic on my island. I need to do that
The
next.
Olympic Village definitely got freaky with Mario and Sonic there.
oh yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of the scenario ship. But speaking of Mario and being a furry, it makes me think of one of my favorite Sean moments, which is when he was explaining Tanukis to me, and that have giant testicles, and it was like and we were like younger or whatever. I don't know how. I mean, we weren't that young, but it was like my dad came home, and right as Sean was talking about about giant testicles, and it was like the first thing my dad heard upon arriving home from work, and that was just it lives in my head. Sean doing that.
Rent free.
Got massive testicles.
And now there's Tanuki figures coming to my favorite board game, Hero Escape.
Do they have massive testicles?
They have pants on, so you can't see.
Don't want it.
Disappointing.
I already pre-ordered.
You know, you should
That's when
watch.
Creo orders something.
Yes.
You should watch the movie Pompoko. It's about Tanukis and them using their massive testicles to turn into different things.
On that note, does
It's a
anyone
movie
want to
by
like
Studio Ghibli.
get started?
Get started.
I was channeling Alanis Morissette.
Jake, we need to pad this out because
That's why I stuttered and patted out.
Or say it.
You.
Yesterday, and I already forgotten most of it.
Oh.
I had to do it in
Valid.
2 sittings, even though the movie's pretty short.
Yo, same.
You know,
What?
that song, You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette, that would be a really good song if, like, anyone else sang it.
I anti-recommend her. Nobody should ever listen to her.
God, I hate Alanis Morissette. She's in, like, top 5 most hated.
I was gonna say, yeah, she's in my bottom 5, like, relevant enough to name musical artists all time.
21 Pilots is also in that top 5.
I don't like them, but I think they're astronomically ahead of her.
Oh my, I completely disagree.
And astronomically ahead of Taylor Swift.
I think that, God, 21 Pilots makes me so angry. Ride by 21 Pilots is one of the worst pieces of music that's ever been professionally recorded ever, I swear to God.
They kind of give me the same vibes as Imagine Dragons, to be honest.
Yes, they get so much more acclaim than them for some reason. It's like, I can't get into all this, alright? It's not good for my
I
health.
know from 21 Pilots is Stressed Out. I remember people loving that song. I thought it was kind of
You've
overrated.
probably heard others, to be honest.
They had a song in the Suicide Squad soundtrack that was everywhere in 2016.
God.
It was inescapable.
Yeah.
Alright. So this is, I gotta be honest right from the jump, this is the one Fast and Furious movie that I do not like. Fast and Furious was released in April 3rd of 2009 and is kind of like a relaunch for the series. If you've been following along with us, obviously we've talked a lot about how Vin Diesel didn't return for the second one, and neither him nor Paul Walker returned for the third film, Tokyo Drift. Well, this movie features Dom again, played by Vin Diesel, Brian O'Connor, played by Paul Walker, the return of Letty, kind of, played by Michelle Rodriguez, and Mia Toretto, played by Jordana Brewster. It was written by Chris Morgan and Gary Scott Thompson, directed by Justin Lin, who directed the Better Luck Tomorrow, which we raved about, as well as Tokyo Drift, which we all enjoyed, and shot by Amir Mokri. Rounding out the cast is John Ortiz as Braga, Laz Alonso, who I did not realize that was him, of The Boys fame, as Phoenix, Gal Gadot, who is, let's just say it off the bat, the worst actor that's, like, somehow still gets roles, as Giselle, the love of my life, Shea Wiggum, as Agent Stasiak, Sung Hang as Han, and Tego Calderon and Donna Maar as, I didn't realize until this very moment, the actors are the same names as the characters, which I've realized while putting together this outline. So yeah, Fast and Furious.
They only show up at the beginning and the end, so I get.
They're in some of the other ones though too. I think they're in 5 and maybe one other.
Oh yeah, they show up late. I mean, like in this one, they don't. I don't know if they even say their names. They're just bickering the whole time with each other.
They're funny. They're one of the better parts. Like I think they have like legit like funny moments and good chemistry.
Yes.
Yeah, they're one of the few entertaining things about this movie.
All right, I'll just rip off a little bit of plot synopsis, so that we can get into more specific bitching. But
No.
no, you don't want me to. I don't want me to either.
No, let's end it here. Good night, everyone.
All right, we already established nobody likes it. Talk to you in 2 weeks. No, Dominic Toretto and his crew, consisting of Letty, Tegoleo. See, now I'm questioning. Wait. Okay, the names on IMDb were the same, the actors and the characters. But now I'm seeing Rico Santos and Tego Leo instead of Tego Calderon and Don Omar. So, like, I gotta be honest, I do not know what the truth is here, because this movie puts me to sleep.
It doesn't matter.
Kara? Who's Kara? I don't... I'm, like, reading this, like, did Sean mess with this? But I don't think he did.
One episode no one will care about.
Wait,
No.
what? Wait, what are you saying?
I'm, like...
I
I know, and that's what I'm saying, but I'm like reading Dom's crew, and after Letty, and between Letty and Han is 3 names that I'm like, okay, Tego and Rico must be the 2 Dominican brothers, or friends, or whatever the fuck they are, but that's not their names on IMDb, so I'm not even sure which their actual name is, and then there's somebody named Kara, who I do not remember at all, and I also only watched this a couple days ago.
I'm sorry, you sounded like a racist old white man when
I know, but it's just because I'm so confused right now, because this movie just, like, leaves my brain the moment I see it.
Simply the phrase, the 2 Dominican brothers.
I guess, like, IMDb also isn't that great, but it...
I know, but, like, I seriously, this movie, like, it's one of those movies that I could see, I've seen it multiple times, unfortunately, because I watched it when I binge-watched the series.
Unfortunately.
I watched it with you guys. I think I may have watched it with Priya, and now I watched it for this. And every single time, the second it fucking ends, it's all out of my brain. I watched it in 2...
It's also worse because I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, and they say it's Don Omar and Tego Calderon as Santos and Tego. So Tego still has the same name as character, but then they're saying...
So then Don Omar must play Rico Santos. I'm gonna go with that. It's Tego Leo, played by Tego Calderon, and Don Omar plays Rico Santos. I want to give these guys credit because they're both very good in the roles. They're very funny.
Yes.
So thank you, Sean. So, and then Han, so right off the bat, you see Han, which means this has to be, we've talked about how fucky the timeline for Fast gets. All of a sudden, this has to be a prequel to Tokyo Drift because Han died in Tokyo Drift. So, they're hijacking fuel tankers in the Dominican Republic. Dom suspects the police are on their trail and leaves Letty behind because he does the whole, like, stereotypical, like, I don't want the woman to get hurt thing. Months later in Panama City, Dom gets a call from Mia who tells him that Letty's been murdered. It's a really awful line delivery. She's like, Letty, she's been murdered. And it's just like, who would phrase it that way? Anyway. God, where was I? Letty's been murdered. Dom heads to LA to attend her funeral and finds traces of nitromethane at the crash site where he suddenly has super CSI powers. He coerces a local mechanic into giving him the name of the buyer, David Park, and is informed that the only car that uses nitromethane in the area is a green 1972 Ford Torino Sport. Meanwhile, FBI agent Brian O'Connor, who has, against all of his character development over the course of Fast and Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious, is now a cop again, or FBI agent, that's just a cop, trying to track down Mexican drug lord Arturo Braga, who they do not know the actual identity of. His search also leads him to Park. Dom arrives at Park's apartment, hangs him out of the window by... I don't even know what this is supposed to say, but I'm going to go with what Sean said because it's more entertaining. By his wanker. Before Brian arrives, Brian saves Park, who in turn becomes the FBI's new informant and gets Brian into a race war. Again, I don't know if Sean changed that, but it fits. Brian selects a modified 2002 Nissan Skyline GTR R34 from the impound lot. Dom also shows up in his 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS. That feels like it's a change too. Ramon Campos, Braga's second in command, and Giselle Yashar, Braga's liaison, revealed that the winner will become the last driver on Braga's team, the traffic's heroine between the Mexico and U.S. border. Dom wins by bumping Brian's car into wall in nitro, making him lose control. Brian uses his power as an FBI agent to arrest another driver, Dwight Mueller, and takes his place on the team. The team meets up with Braga's henchman, Phoenix, and Dom notices that Phoenix drives the same Torino that the mechanic had described. Okay, I tried to blaze through a lot of that because it's really fucking boring.
But the two parts I love the most is Dom's CSI fucking...
Okay, yeah, take the reins, Sean, please.
Develop the scene in my fucking mind, and it all going everywhere, and I can see exactly what happened because I sniffed the side of the road.
He goes into the Batman Arkham series detective mode and scans it and just figures out the crime scene entirely. It's fantastic.
And here's the thing. I think in any other Fast movie, I'd love that shit. But this movie chose to present itself as a serious crime drama. It's trying to be a fucking Brian De Palma movie, or it has the Jason Bourne shaky cam and Jason Bourne aesthetic, and it's so overly serious out of nowhere. And then there's this random scene where Dom seems to have superpowers, in not in that he's unusually strong, but yeah, I mean, Sean literally described it. He sniffs the road and can see crime.
The one thing I also want to bring up, too, is that, the beginning of the movie, I think, starts off fine with them, hijacking the tankers and, stealing all the oil and stuff.
Yeah, it's a good opener.
Everything after that just falls apart, especially because, one, you have the scene where Brian is chasing after the one guy to get an idea of, David Park's whole thing, and to get that name. But this is the first time where I think the shaky cam is, absolutely abysmal, because, you can't tell anything that's going on while chasing after the guy and running through wherever, which is, my frame to it going downhill pretty fast. But then, there's so little in terms of, car action in this one either, which is frustrating. They have, they have a race scene later on, they have the shit at the beginning, and I think there's something at the end?
So there's the reason it's easy to forget, too, is because, most of the opening, you said, the opening where they're hijacking the fuel is, a well-lit, well-directed action scene, and then after that, yeah, it's the race between Brian and Dom, which you've been waiting years for at this point, in real life time, between the last time they were in a movie together in 2001. And then there's some other stuff where they're, running drugs, for Braga, and, at the climax when they're chasing down Braga. But all of the car scenes are, at night. It's so poorly lit. A lot of the car stuff is underground in tunnels, and it's all CGI, very poorly done CGI, and you just, cannot make out at all what's happening.
And it's so frustrating, too, because it's they did similar stuff in Tokyo Drift, but it was so much better. You have enclosed spaces that they're drifting through. You have it at nighttime, and the city is all lit up, and it all looks neon and gorgeous. And then you have this garbage shit where it's we're in a tunnel and you can't tell what the fuck's going on, making a left turn and a right turn, and everything's dark and spooky, and it's all animated, by the way. So it just nothing the impact of feeling one, it's a real. I don't feel like I'm watching a real, car... I don't feel like I'm watching a real car race going on, or anything, and it just feels... This feels more fantastical in the way that the driving is handled than I guess Tokyo Drift was.
Tokyo Drift... That energy Tokyo Drift had. Especially, the editing with, the quick cuts, and the sound design... And
the quick cuts are awful.
Oh,
they'll
yeah,
have
really bad.
They'll have so many parts where they're like, they're shooting these car scenes, but they keep cutting in between everything so fast that it's so frustrating to get an idea or a handle on what's going on, because they just keep cutting before you get just enough of what, like, you're trying to understand is going on, or at least enough that you're, like, you have a good grasp of what the scene is. Like, obviously it's a car and it's driving, but, like, I need more nuance than that.
Yeah, and like you said, like, the first, like, the intro scene with the oil tankers, like, that's a pretty solid scene, and, like, I almost, like, as I was watching it, I almost felt like it was kind of like a cock tease, this movie, because it was like, oh, all the, you know, like, the original guys are back, right? Like, Dom hadn't been in the last two movies, Brian hadn't been in the last one, you know, Letty hadn't been in them, whatever. So it's like, oh, we got the original, like, cast all back now, like, and it's off to it hits the ground running with, like, a pretty cool, pretty fun car action sequence, and then it's just kind of, like, dull and slow from then on out.
They also,
Letty dies off screen.
yeah, and they kill.
And Letty dies off screen early on.
They completely rearrange the continuity so that Han can be in, like, 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Because he's not even in most of the movie. He's, like, there for the opening job. He's there when they celebrate afterwards. And then he alludes to going off to Tokyo, which we then find out doesn't fucking happen yet, because he's in the next several of these.
And exactly, that's another way it's a cock tease. It's like, they show you Han in this opening sequence, and it's like, oh, cool, Han. And then you just don't get him for most of the movie.
Yeah, and 3 ends with like, the Dominic Toretto cameo and him referring to Han as family. So, like, you would think you were gonna see that.
Yeah, you would think, but no, not much. Not much.
I do think killing off Letty is the worst mistake that, the Fast Saga makes at any point.
Yeah, I forgot, like, how quick and, like, I don't know, unceremonious her death was in this movie.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't remember much about this movie because it kind of sucks, but, like, I was like, damn, they really just, like, iced her like that.
They're icing Letty!
I forgot that it was off-screen. That was so much worse when I remembered that. I was like, oh, this whole thing, it just dies off-screen. Like, there's nothing ceremonious to it. And it was really funny when they're all at her funeral, and them at the funeral, Mia's there, and then it goes back, and then it's Brian in the street, and then it goes back further, and it's Dom on the hit. It's like, are we just going to keep going back further and introducing new characters, and everybody's watching another person like this fucking girl?
It goes back farther, and Rome's watching for some reason. Like,
yeah, I know it is baffling that they kill her off screen, and they kill her off with I can buy why Dom kind of has this, like, regressive point of view, where after everything he went through at the end, like, as a result of the events of Fast 1, that he's overly protective of Letty, in a way that, like, I don't think it's inconsistent that he used to run jobs with her, and now he's, overly protective of her, but then, I don't know, at least have her go out, like, heroic or something. Like, she just gets killed off screen, and you find out that she was working undercover for Brian, who I still maintain, like, I don't think there's nothing about Brian's journey from The Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious that would lead me to believe he's gonna go back to being a cop.
You mean his life of crime that he pursued in the past 2 movies? Tell you that
he gets a clean record at the end of 2 and walks off with Rome stealing money. Yeah. And like the whole journey of the first Fast movie was him becoming disillusioned with law enforcement.
But the FBI is different.
Like, I think you could have had, like, I get that I think you already have a natural, like, one of the better elements of the movie, I think, is it's, like, good character writing that Dom and Mia are still fucking pissed at Brian over him being an undercover cop in the first movie. I think that is something that they will hold on to for several years. But I don't... I think that grudge and that like antagonistic spirit would be there without him also becoming a cop again. It feels like a hat on a hat. Like you wanted them to not trust him, so they made him an FBI agent, but they already wouldn't trust him because he betrayed their trust before.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of feels like a sloppy, thrown-in reason for extra tension.
It really is shocking to go from Tokyo Drift to this movie because we essentially go from
Tokyo Drift has so much sauce.
Yeah, it has so much personality. I think that's the
This movie
advantage
has
of
no
like
sauce.
exactly. I think that's the advantage of having Tokyo Drift be strictly in Tokyo, while this movie aims for this like espionage, like thriller, the mystery. But the thing is, the great thing about like espionage movies, spy movies, like a good perfect example is like Mission Impossible, like The Bourne Identity, and even like future Fast and Furious movies. You get to experience all these different settings, and all of them have like different architecture. A lot of times they have different lighting, so they're in different places. So it's like exciting, like oh my god, look at all this, that new places. Here it's just the same, It's just the same old roads. It's the same old buildings. It's all like dark and black in the background. They're just in like a desert here and there, and it has no personality whatsoever. And the races are boring, which is detrimental to a Fast and Furious movie.
Right, if there's one thing you need in these movies, it's cool car scenes.
I always forget that this is a Justin Lin Fast movie because it's such an anomaly. Like you said, like Tokyo Drift has so much sauce, and then he goes on to direct several more of these that are all some of my favorites in the franchise. And then I know he can do a crime drama because Better Luck Tomorrow is fucking great. So it's just so weird to me that this movie is like so ugly and boring compared because the rest of his work isn't.
Yeah, it's really strange to me. Like I kept wanting to think like, oh, this feels like the one where they like went out a step and then they came back to Justin Lin and were like, oh, you did a really good job. Let's keep going with it. But no, he did this one too, and he did a bad job, I would say.
And he did a bad job.
In my opinion, he did a bad job.
Can we for a moment still imagine hanging that one guy out of his window by his wiener?
Yeah, and wanker was such a funny word choice for that. Just imagine hanging, grabbing the cock.
Give me a name.
Where's the nitromethane
That
going?
would be a terrifying way to be hung off of a building. To be fair.
And it would only be like the fifth most homoerotic thing in these movies, so.
You and your cock, what will you do?
Yeah.
Also, yeah, Giselle is the greatest addition that eventually gets added on to the rest of these movies, too.
Wet fucking blanket.
Giselle, who has no character other than flirting with men.
Like,
I do.
Unfortunately,
this was worse. Like, the introduction here, I couldn't remember it, and it was worse than I remembered.
I forget that she's in this one.
I forgot this was where she was introduced.
I think it's my brain's like trauma response. I don't. Gal Gadot, seriously, like, can you guys think of another actor that gets so much work and so much high profile work that is this bad? Like, I know people like to shit on like Jared Leto, but like, it's not even in the same conversation to me. The two of them.
He's a legitimately good actor. He just has to be an asshole.
He's just
Jared
an asshole.
Leto has a lot of bad roles and is an asshole, but he's also a really good actor.
Well, yeah, he makes like weird choices
had
that
some amazing.
Yeah, and he makes choices that are strange and don't necessarily work, but he's like doing something. Or even if you want to be like, the other two obvious ones are like The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. they have boring roles, but like I don't think they like. But they at least kind of do what they're typecasting themselves as well enough. Like, Gal Gadot literally is just like... It's like she's reading words for the first time every time. I don't... I
remember when she sang Imagine?
Oh, God. She's also like a horrible person, but, like, that's...
I totally forgot about that until just now, and then I was like, holy shit... That was sang Imagine.
It's just it's so baffling to me that like I will the one thing I'll defend is like Patty Jenkins seems to be the only director that's ever been able to squeeze anything out of her, who like seemed like aware enough of the fact that she has no range whatsoever and was like, what if I like try to write her character into that? And then like I think she's fine in the first Wonder Woman movie, and that's all. Like she's just miserably bad in the Fast movies.
And the second Wonder Woman movie, that movie felt like a made-for-TV movie. I can't lie.
That came out in like the height of COVID too, so it's kind of like a fever dream to me. Like whenever we get back to the original concept of the pod and like get to Wonder Woman 1984, I feel like it's going to be like watching it for the first time again. In a bad way, probably.
Oh, God. I remember watching that movie together.
Yeah, we watched it on
the
Max.
COVID season. And I just remember us, like, being so disappointed.
During the COVID
I think
season.
it was just our first revelation that, like, Gal Gadot can't act for the life of her. And she's only really good at acting when she's like a fish out of water, because her acting is that bad that she has to be in like a fish out of water situation.
Exactly.
To
No.
get anything good out of her.
Yeah, because I remember liking the first Wonder Woman and being like, oh wow, maybe she's like turned a corner. And then watching anything post that and being like, oh no, that was just a fluke. That was a Linsanity run. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Damn, yeah. Okay, so Giselle sucks. I do like though that she like relentlessly hits on Dom, and Dom is just like, nah, I still love Dead Letty.
I do like that. I do like that. I just wish that she had more of a character other than hit on man.
Especially if they're gonna make her prominent,
Reduced to that.
Well, and like if she was gonna be a bit
Just
part,
reductive of the female gender
and
as a whole.
like it would be reductive either way. But if she was like a bit part, you'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. She's just,
Right.
but she's like she's like in the movie enough that it feels like she's supposed to be this like complicated, dark, mysterious. Is she good at like, ooh, she works for Braga, but like, I think I like her, but she's just like, she has no personality. So I don't ever think that. I just think, oh, okay, she works for Braga. Oh, she is attracted to Dom. It's also funny because Dom's such a hoe in like the other times that we see him, and then Letty dies, and he's like intensely loyal now. So
It's all about family.
I mean, I do.
Including extended family.
I do like there is a prelude to this movie called Los Bandoleros that I think is worth watching, that Diesel actually directed. But it kind of makes this movie even more baffling because it's like dedicated to it kind of shows you what Dom's been up to since he was on the run and how he's been like helping people out in the Dominican Republic, and it shows him reunite with Letty, and it's really romantic, and they have tremendous chemistry, and it makes it all the crazier that they like filmed that and we're like, okay, now let's kill Letty. And not even like let's kill her at the end of the movie. Let's like put all this cool, great development and like some of the best acting in the whole like series in this short film, and then kill Letty off screen 15 minutes in.
Yep.
Yeah, this was definitely the toughest one to get through, but this one felt like 2.5 hours, and it was only like 90 minutes.
To be honest, this is probably one of the easier ones. Or else because it was so easy to just lose focus and just kind of like...
Yeah.
This is kind of like one of those movies where I just watched it, but then didn't watch it. Like I didn't pay attention whatsoever. It's kind of like watching a Netflix movie.
It was the hardest to like stay in tune with in any capacity, at least.
This is genuinely up there with some of the worst we covered in like this is up there with like almost as bad as like Supergirl and stuff to me.
Well, this is.
I'm not gonna say bad. Supergirl.
Almost as bad.
This is bad and unenjoyable. At least those I could get enjoyment out of. Some of those.
Yeah, those are at least easy. Like, to me, this movie is what I always say the worst thing a movie can be is, which is just boring. Like, a lot of movies suck so bad you can at least laugh at them. This movie isn't that kind of bad. It's just, like, nothing's good, and it hurts to watch, and it's boring as shit, and you want to do something else.
It's like, it feels like the paying your dues of if you're gonna be a fan of this ongoing story. Like, this whole thing's a big soap opera. There's a lot of fake out deaths, a lot of crazy reveals, and most of it, for my money, is so enjoyable, and this just feels like the one that, like, you just kind of have to, like, sit through. It's the only one that, like, I really don't see. People have such wide-ranging opinions in which the best of these are, but I feel like I never see anyone say, like, oh, Fast 4 is the peak for me.
Great, fantastic.
I have seen this one ranked consistently towards the bottom of lists.
I don't, like, it's almost always in people's bottom 3.
Yeah,
at least.
I would even say, like, bottom 2, like, 85% of the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say it's...
Fast and Furious movie come even close to this? In terms of being had?
For me, no. For me, this is the worst one by a large range.
Even like 9 and 10, which I am not a huge fan of, I'm going to say 100%. It is much more entertaining than this movie.
I think my
There's
second to
still
least...
an enjoyable time. This one doesn't feel like it's an enjoyable time.
Off the top of my head...
It's just time. That's really it. It's just time.
No, I definitely...
It's just something that pops up, and then you put it on. It's like an hour and a half long. You watch it, and then in my case, you forget about it because like
I had the opposite effect though. I kept looking at the
because it tries to be like an espionage movie, but it's not as memorable. The only thing that it really has advantage over other espionage movies is that it has more cars. But even then, like the car culture stuff, which made the previous movies more unique, is kind of gone. It's still there, but like they're much more focused on like the drama of losing Letty. Do you imagine watching this as your first Fast movie?
It would be asked.
And it was for a lot of people.
I'm kind of curious as to whether this movie specifically is where they wanted to do the turn in direction towards not being so much about cars anymore, because this is the first one that I really feel like where they focus on something completely different and the cars aren't as much of a priority anymore, and like the races aren't there as much as they have been in the past. It feels like this is the first start of like the transition. How it was a very wrong step.
Yeah, I mean, like, not to get ahead of ourselves, but that's the one thing I'll give it, is this franchise seems to learn from its mistakes. I'm gonna try to avoid talking about, like, plotline specifics and, like, lore specifics that get corrected down the line, but just, like, tonally and visually, I'm glad that this movie came out and they were like, oh, let's not do that again. And that even, like, I enjoyed Too Fast, Too Furious and Tokyo Drift, but I appreciate that, like, the one thing that this movie does do is it was smart to bring back OG cast. It should have kept them in more. Like, Mia's super underutilized. Should have had more Han. But, like, and you shouldn't have killed Letty. But I do think it was, like, the right call to get back to Dom and Brian. And I'm glad that this is, in my opinion, a total one-off of bad.
Yeah, it's just, like, it's so, like, the credits came, and I was like, "Oh, it's over."
I kept it's like an hour 45. I kept staring at the timestamp, like, how is it still
No, I swear, there was at one point I checked how far in I was, how much more time I had left, and I was an hour in, and there was like 45 minutes left, roughly. And I'm like, all right. And then like a little while passes. I'm like, let me check again, and it was an hour and 9 minutes. And I was like, there's just no way it's only been 9 minutes. I was like, there's just no way. It's been like 20, 25.
This is also another thing I have a problem with it, but we haven't really gotten to it yet. But like, God, I hate how they keep trying to put they try and put like multiple twists in this one too, with Phoenix, which I think have they mentioned Phoenix?
We mention him. He's the guy who kills Letty. You kind of assume they definitely want you to think he's actually Braga, but then it turns out to be the like first guy you meet. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, they like do some weird bait and switch with Phoenix for a moment, and then they do a whole bait and switch with Braga, and it wasn't clever, and it wasn't well written, so it didn't really help its case. I feel like they were trying to go for more than they did. It just felt to me.
Yeah, they definitely overthought it. I would have just made Phoenix the main. Braga's a weak villain. He probably has the most story impact of any Fast villain because he kills Letty, or he's indirectly responsible for killing Letty, and reunites Brian and Dom. But he's the guy who plays him. It's just not a good performance, and I actually think Laz Alonso is pretty intimidating as Phoenix. They should have just had him be the only villain. Have him kill Letty. Have him be Braga. He's big. He's intimidating. He's charismatic. I feel like, I don't know. We definitely, when we're caught up on the franchise, we should definitely go over our rankings of them, because I think it's going to be interesting. Other than it seems like we're all putting this last, I think it'll be interesting to see where we are in respect to each other. But
No. This is number one for me.
This is number one? This is peak?
This is peak Fast.
This is when you locked in. You were unsure through 1 through 3 and Better Luck Tomorrow, and then you watched Fast and Furious, and this was kind of doing the bringing back the old name with next to no difference or no difference before it was cool. Like, you had Halloween 1978 and 2018, but before that you had The Fast and the Furious and Fast and Furious.
The names for these movies are also
I like them.
I find it so hard to figure out which one's like the first, second, third, fourth. Some of them are easy, okay? Some of the Fast 5.
Yeah, okay.
Is it Fast?
It's The Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, Furious 7, Fate of the Furious, F9 The Fast Saga, Fast X, Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, and Better Luck Tomorrow.
I just Better Luck Tomorrow. Too Fast and Too Furious is the title's peak.
Oh yeah, that's the best title for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love Fate of the Furious.
Fate of the Furious is pretty great.
That one's kind of funny too. I give that one's like below.
Because the title card spells it F8 of the Furious.
Yeah.
To be clear.
And I also did like F9 just because the whole time it was coming out, I was calling it F9.
Oh yeah, and I like the Fast Saga
the
subtitle.
last one was F8 and it was Fate, so F9.
I mean, it doesn't say good things about this movie that we're spending so much time talking about the other movies in the franchise and Wonder Woman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we anything but to talk about this. I'm really trying to pad us out to an hour.
Good.
Because the thing about this movie is that it's so simple that the criticisms are 3 points. It's boring, it has no personality, it's slow paced.
And it's ugly.
It is.
And that's really it. That's all you can talk about. Because there's nothing wrong with the performances, the story is just well, very confusing and sometimes cliche. And then the acting, yeah, like the acting is fine. They did their job. The cinematography is not awful. They did their
Disagree.
job. I mean, it's not horrible.
Yeah, I
seen
hate it.
worse.
I mean,
that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not. It's like bare
It's
bone
competent.
minimum.
I don't even think it's got. I really hate this movie.
It just has. Here's the thing. I don't think it's not bad. It just has no personality, which you can argue it's that bad. It's just for me. After some of the movies that we've seen together for this podcast, I can't say it's bad.
Oh,
Like,
I don't know. I mean, I thought there were scenes that were more than anything we've watched for the podcast. Obviously, nothing from One Shots because I think we pretty much only cover. Well, that's not true. We covered Bloodshot, and that's not a good movie. But for the most part, the One Shots movies were good. We covered some real bad shit for like the comic book stuff we were covering. This is the first time where I think there are scenes that are like wholly incomprehensible to me. Like all of the underground tunnel driving, I have no clue who's in what car. I feel like I'm staring at a screen that's off. Like I just like if they're, I literally like I'm not kidding. I was like watching this and I thought like there was something wrong and only the audio was playing because I couldn't make out what was happening.
It is bad in that regard. There were definitely times I was confused due to the poor lighting. And it's just like, it's so slow paced, and you can't be like under 2 hours and be this slow paced. And especially when you don't like build up to anything that great.
Yeah, it's not a good. I don't know. They try to turn it into a bit of a whodunit, but there's really no like question about who did it.
It was me. I done it.
He done it. Sean killed Letty. If Sean killed Letty, he'd be off the pod. I love Letty.
What was the villain's name again?
What?
I completely forget. What was the villain's name again?
Phoenix killed Letty. The main villain who Phoenix worked for is Braga.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Braga.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
I barely remember him.
Well, yeah, he's a forgettable villain, and I don't think it's a very good performance from the actor either. I do think Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are good in this. I'll give them that. And Mia's good. Like, I like the main Fast family that's in the movie, even the ones that are like used sparingly, they're all pretty good in it.
I mean, yeah, they're fine, but they do what they always do in these movies, and then the rest of the movie sucks. Like,
there should never be a movie that has more Gal Gadot than Michelle Rodriguez.
well, that's true, but like you said, like they're all fine. They do exactly what they're supposed to do, as they always do in these movies. But that does nothing when the script is boring, the story's boring, the visuals are boring.
The wanker is boring.
The wanker's boring.
All right. Well, let's progress this a bit, I guess. They drive. Sorry, what was that, Sean? No.
No.
Again, totally understandable.
It's over, folks. We're done.
They drive across the border using tunnels to avoid detection. Dom confronts Phoenix and learns that he kills all the drivers after their work is done, and that's when he killed Letty as she tried to escape. A standoff ensues. Excuse me, I had to burp. Dom detonates his car with nitrous oxide to distract Braga's men, and Brian hijacks a 1999 Hummer H1 with $60 million worth of heroin in it. Brian and Dom drive back to LA and hide the heroin in a police impound lot, where they pick up a modified 2008 Subaru Impreza WRX STI, sexually transmitted. What's the I stand for? Infection, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Hatchback. Sean has an STI in his hatchback. They drive to Dom's house and reunite with Mia. Brian and Dom then express... I'm going to read it because it's more interesting than the actual plot. Brian and Dom then express their love for each other and begin intimacy. I'm assuming that was Brian and Mia because, like, actual plot-wise, Brian and Mia hook up. But I like this version better. But Dom attacks Brian when he learns that the last person to contact Letty was Brian. Brian explains... Yeah, it's like if they fucked and then he attacks him. Brian explains that... pound him and then pound him. Brian, he was just, Brian, you were supposed to be my Discord kitten. Brian explains that Letty was working undercover for him, tracking Braga in exchange for clearing Dom's record. Brian tells his superiors that in exchange for Dom's pardon, he will lure Braga into a trap, forcing him to show up to exchange money for the heroin. At the drop site, the man who claims to be Braga is revealed as a decoy, and Campos, the real Braga the whole time, escapes with Phoenix to Monaco. I think everybody saw that, in air quotes, twist coming. In the ensuing chaos, Phoenix nearly runs over Giselle before Dom saves her. The failed trap results in Brian being taken off active duty. So, I do think the scene...
Close to getting rid of Giselle.
So close. I do think, one of the only few good scenes in the movie. I think there's 3. I think the last scene of the movie is good. I think the first, where they steal the fuel, is good. And I think the scene where Brian and Dom fight is good. It is from a bad scenario of killing off Letty, of fridging Letty, but I do think there's some of the best acting, low-key, in the series when Brian finds out that Letty had been working undercover. When Dom finds out that Letty had been working undercover from Brian, and they fight, and then the revelation that she was doing it to clear Dom's record so he could come home. Honestly, if you had just shown Letty working undercover, maybe the movie's salvageable, but
no, that would make it too interesting.
Yeah, right, what was I thinking?
And then she gets more screen time than Gal Gadot, and that's bad.
Why would we want
People want their eye candy.
Michelle Rodriguez looks better than Gal Gadot. And I don't think that should be a hot take.
Killed the Neanderthals.
Israelis. With Giselle's help, Brian and Dom travel to Mexico to catch Braga in the Subaru and Dom's rebuilt 1970 Dodge Charger RT and apprehend him at church. I'm just finishing the plot because, I want to get this over with. I got to be honest.
We've already said everything we need to.
Yeah, I know, right? As Braga's henchmen try to rescue him, Brian and Dom drive through the tunnels back to the United States. Brian is chased by Phoenix ahead of the others until he's T-boned and pushed out of the tunnels. Sean's making changes and his name's blocking the words I'm reading. Before Phoenix can kill him, Dom drives out of the tunnels into Phoenix and killing him. This is admittedly cool. Dom, spears Phoenix with his car. Stabs him with the hood of a car, which is pretty sick, actually. It's the only decent car thing.
That one.
It's cool. I wish it was in one of the better Fast movies. As pigs and helicopters, thank you, Sean, I appreciate that correction, approach the crash site on the American side of the border, Brian tells Dom to leave, but Dom says he's tired of running. Despite the deal that was in place for Dom's record to be cleared, the judge sentences Dom to 25 years to life without parole. Most realistic thing in the movie. That the cops go back on their word. Brian resigns from the FBI, and Dom boards a prison bus that will transport him to Lompoc Penitentiary. As the bus drives down the road, Brian, Mia, Leo, and Santos arrive in their cars to intercept it and free Dom.
Who the fuck is Leo?
It's one of the Dominicans. I sound racist again.
But isn't that supposed to be fucking... Are they just giving them... It's supposed to be Tego...
You're right. Yeah, wait. It should be Tego, isn't it? I don't even know.
It says, yeah,
Who gives a shit? Who cares? The movie's over. Goodbye.
Oh, wait.
Point.
His full name is Tego Leo, according to Wikipedia.
Okay, there you go. It's not worth figuring out. Then again, those two guys are bright spots, but
Let's just get this over with. I'm so sick of talking about this movie.
okay, I do think the ending is solid. I do think the cops being like, LOL JK, we're not going to clear Dom's record, and then Brian... It's a long walk to get back to where we left off with Brian, which is him abandoning police work, but at least we end on that note.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I can give it.
The most realistic part about the movie is the funniest one too.
And it's...
We do really spend a whole hour 45 for things to be exactly as they were at the start of this movie.
No, now Letty's dead.
Yeah.
Everything's at the same, except now we have one less compelling character.
Wah, wah.
I mean, do you guys want to just go right into final thoughts? Because I don't think anything's a fucking secret.
We all hate it.
I don't recommend this.
Yes.
I don't recommend this movie. The best part is... God, let me think. I think I had something. I don't know. The best part is... Does anyone have a best part?
When the cars exploded.
I liked it when the car exploded.
When the car exploded with the nitrous at
My
the...
favorite part is that guy getting squished between two cars.
You know, my favorite part...
The guy getting hung out of a window by his wanker.
My favorite part is the Dom CSI superpowers, because it's the only time this movie even briefly attempts to do anything interesting. My least favorite part is killing Letty, because, like, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? And I don't recommend this movie. If you're watching through the fast...
It's Gal Gadot, don't you know?
If you're watching through the Fast franchise for the first time, I mean, maybe give it a watch. I'm not a huge fan of the whole, like, just read the Wikipedia thing or just watch clips. Maybe give it one cursory review. Maybe do it with friends so you can make... It's not even that make funnable, though, either. Like, but, like, other than a completionist drive, if you're watching through these, there's no reason to watch this. It's the only one that I don't think you can really watch in isolation and enjoy. It's just bad. Don't watch it.
Yeah, he's right. I agree. There's no need for it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by... In our voice channel, it says general, and then it says gay underneath it. And so I was just imagining General Gay.
Gee, who do we think put that there?
Somebody finally noticed it. I changed it so that that's where you put the topic of communications, and I changed the topic to gay.
I didn't know that's what that was for, but I didn't see that.
The topic is General Gay.
The top's General Gay.
Reporting for duty. This movie sucks. I said duty. I'm stretching and yawning.
That's fitting.
Because that's how this movie makes me feel.
Stretched out?
Yeah. Huh?
Nothing.
Alright, weirdo.
But it makes you stressed out, right?
No. It makes me want to go to sleep because it sucks. It's not good. I think it was cool when Dom made all the cars explode. And I like Han. About it.
Han.
I liked, anyway. Fuck Gal Gadot.
Now it's General really gay. Yeah, fuck Gal Gadot. She may be worse than killing Letty.
Fuck Gal Gadot. That's my least favorite part. Fuck Gal Gadot.
All my homies hate
This
Gal
movie sucks,
Gadot.
don't watch it. I don't recommend it.
Well said, Matt.
Yeah, this movie ass. I have a weird situation of, like, do you recommend this to somebody who wants to watch through the whole franchise, or would you want somebody to skip it? I feel like you have to watch it, especially for, like, things that happen later, because important.
Yeah, I think it's a pay in your dues thing. I think you watch it. I don't think you should do what I've done and put yourself through it multiple times, even though it makes you miserable. But I think if you're watching all of these and you've enjoyed 1 through 3, it gets so much better after this one. Watch it once, even as background viewing. I'm not a big fan of the whole just read the plot synopsis thing. But, like, in general, no, don't fucking watch it.
This really is like the dark before the dawn, like right before the prime of Fast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it is, you have, like, the best Fast movies just directly after this, which is
It's like 5, 6, 7 is a hot shit.
Oh yeah, 5 through 7 are my top 3, and it's not even close.
It's so sad. So, like, I would not recommend watching this movie if you don't have to, or just watch it once, get through it, and then go through the rest of the bangers. But, like, it's think that's a hot take there.
Hey, I didn't say that the worst part was Gal Gadot. I said the worst part was fuck Gal Gadot.
The best part is still that man being held out the window by his wanker. The fact that tensile strength right there. I mean, come on. How do you? Also,
how'd they get away with that in a PG-13?
I know, it was so weird. It was also weird when Brian and Don start pounding, and then they start pounding again right afterwards. I think that was a little strange, and they didn't really do a great job building up to that. But we live and let live in this franchise.
I'm thinking about how much I like Matt. He's short, sweet, and to the point.
Burton?
Something about LeVar Burton? Lamar Burton? What?
Do I look like LeVar Burton?
Oh, from Star Trek?
LeVar Burton.
Yeah.
That feels like a callback to the start of this episode, if you recall. To it being opposite day. So, thank you. Thank you to ALOFETT, ALOFETT for the podcast art. Thank you to LeVar Burton for the podcast music.
LeVar Burton.
LeVar Burton.
You can follow LeVar Burton at... No, I'm just kidding. I made the podcast music. Follow my band, first and foremost. We're working so hard on things, man. So follow us. It's called Faraday Band PA on the Instagrizzy. You can follow me, myself, at the Upsides PA on Instagram. I'll put things out on there eventually too. As, changing directions for things happen.
Okay, then.
This movie putting Jason to sleep.
So, follow Culture Illiterate. We got Spotify, we got Apple Podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. Illiterate_pod. That's any of our ats. CultureIlliteratePod@gmail.com. That's our email. Fuck, it's put me to sleep too. Leave reviews. Thanks for hanging out through this one. And next episode, we should all be a lot more positive. We're covering the start of a trilogy of films that I think we kind of just established all of us see as the peak of the franchise, beginning with Fast 5.